Hey guys, Gunther here, and since I've been getting a lot of requests from other rogues on the server on how I spec, how I defeat certain classes and what my glyphs are and such, I thought I might as well just make a video about it instead of taking 30 minutes or whatever to help each rogue out. So here it is. I'll start off with my glyphs and my talents in this video, and then I'll go on to how to defeat certain classes like mages, DKs, blood DKs, pallies, such. And yeah, let's get started. Alright, so now I got my talent points open. Now this is my main spec, hemorrhage since 4.2, considering it really helps with mobility and you get extra bleed damage and such. Night Stalker is like everything in the first row you need. There's no questions about it. Relentless, you get an extra 25 energy if you use 5 combo points on your eviscerate, kidney shot, or rupture or whatever, or even expose armor or recuperate or slice and dice, whatever you want to use. And then improved ambush for the extra ambush damage by 15% and 60% crit chance, so that is pretty much where all your burst comes from in this spec, considering chemo really doesn't do all that much, but it's mostly gives you good mobility and a really good dot and increased bleed damage, but I'll go over that in a second. Night Stalker for the extra 10% speed and stealth, which is really useful to get on targets and such, and you get the cooldown of stealth is reduced by 4 seconds, which is really good. Elusiveness reduced cooldown on vanish and blind by 60 seconds, and your cloak, shadows, and combat readiness abilities by 30 seconds. Waylay you don't need, since you're going to be using crippling poison on your offhand and mind numbing / wound on your main hand. And opportunity for the extra damage on backstab and your ambush by 30%. I know what you're thinking, backstab you really don't use in this spec, but I use it personally when I'm bursting, just because it does a little bit of extra damage and I already have the dot on the person. And then in the next row there's energetic recovery for the extra 12 energy every 3 seconds. You have to have recuperate up to do that, but yeah, why not get health and energy at the same time. Find weakness reduces your target's armor by 70% for 10 seconds when you use ambush, cheap shot, garrote, or that's about it. But yeah, then there's hemorrhage, which is going to be your main attack, so you are going to need to get that. You're only gonna need 1 in honor among thieves, mostly because it is good, but it'll proc on about your 3rd or 4th hemorrhage, so you'll get the 5th point right away. Premeditation, so you can get the opener and just pretty much use it for 2-point slice and dice or 2-point recuperate, or save it and then get the other points for the full recuperate. Now you're gonna want to get cheat death for the extra healing. Well, it's a fucking fail. But yeah, you're gonna want it. So when you get to 10%, you have a 100% chance to reduce all damage by 80% for 3 seconds, giving you time to do whatever you need to get away, blind, peel, whatever, or just vanish and run, because we're rogues, we're cheap like that. And premeditation reduces resets the cooldown on your sprint, your vanish, your kick, your dismantle, your smoke bomb, and your shadow step abilities. And it's it doesn't really get used that much, but in arena it's mostly used for the vanish or the smoke bomb. Well, it can be used for both. And then Sanguinary Vein increases the the damage dealt to your target with bleeds on them by 16%, and it gives your bleeds a 100% chance not to break gouge, which is useful when you're peeling or just trying to fucking annoy them. And then Slaughter the Shadows is gonna reduce the energy cost of backstab and ambush by 20%, and the energy cost of hemorrhage and venom knives by 6%, making it so you can pretty much effectively spam hemo. Serrated Blades you do not need for PvP. Not sure if you need it for PvE, but fucking useless. Shadow Dance, since you're gonna end up having the glyph, it's gonna go from 6 seconds to 8, giving you Shadow Dance makes it so you can use all your stealth abilities while not in stealth for 8 seconds. It's on a 1 minute cooldown, by the way. And in combat, you want to recuperate. That's all you need from there. Then assassination, you put all the points into lethality for the extra 30% damage on hemorrhage and backstab, which still comes in handy even in hemorrhage spec, because you still use backstab and it gives you extra 30% in hemo. And then coup de grace increases the damage done of eviscerate by 20%, and the fact that it does the venom is just for mutilate, because you don't use deadly poison in sub, so the venom being there is just for mutilate. I think quickening, since you're not going into puncturing wound like you would for backstab spec, so you get an extra 20% healing on you, and your movement speed is increased by 15%. So that is all for hemo spec. I'll go over the other spec in just a minute. Alright, now I'm in backstab spec, and it's pretty much all the same, except for you put the 2 points you had in Sanguinary Vein will go into Honor Among Thieves, so you can get extra combo point every 2 seconds if party members or you crit. And other than that, it's pretty much the same. Combat, it's still the same. Assassination, you switch up. You can only put lethality is still the same, but coup de grace you can only have 2 in, because you need to put 3 points in puncturing wounds, and that's all the points you have, and you really want the extra 30% crit chance on backstab. But 14% is, you're only going to lose 6%, which really isn't that big of a deal, considering your main damage isn't really eviscerate. It helps reverse, but it's not really what you need. So now I'm going to go over the glyphs for each spec. It's mostly not that different, but you know. Alright, so this is glyphs. For your prime glyphs, you're going to want the glyph of hemorrhage for an extra, it'll deal 40% damage of hemorrhage, like actual damage, over 24 seconds. And it ticks quite a bit, like 400, and it'll crit pretty high too. Glyph of Shadow Dance for the extra 2 seconds on Shadow Dance, used in both specs. Eviscerate, which is also used in both of them, it'll increase the crit chance by 10%, and there's nothing else you really need to spec into. And for your major glyphs, you're gonna want the Glyph of Preparations. You get the extra Smoke Bomb, which is all I really use it for, but it's really useful in arena, because you can use the first one to just put up pressure. And then Glyph of Blind, you're gonna make it so your blind doesn't remove dots. So it does remove dots from your enemies, so you don't have to worry about dots or anything taking them out, which would really suck in arena. And then the last major is the Glyph of Garrote for an extra 1.5 seconds silence. It's really useful versus paladins, DKs, and some casters, except for mages, but I do my own thing against them. And then for your minor, you can pretty much pick whatever you want, but since they're overpriced as hell on my server, I decided just to go with the Glyph of Blurred Speed, because I'm poor as shit. And then everything is the exact same in backstab spec. Instead of hemo, the Glyph of hemo, you're gonna replace that with the Glyph of backstab, giving you 5 energy on backstab critical strikes, granting you 5. It'll grant you 5 energy, making it so you can keep putting out damage and keep putting out pressure. That's it for glyphs and my spec, guys. I'll tell you my general rotation next video. So long.